and I've been unmuted the whole time. Fucking great. Wonderful. Hello my fellow haunts, and welcome back to another modded Minecraft stream where I shall be continuing work not on my base but with the world as a whole, namely the start of my massive occult town that I have planned for this world. Like always, I have some goals for this stream, and today I would like to port over the last bits and pieces I need from my main base over here. And is this... where's the rest of my base? Okay, the map hasn't loaded in. That scared me for a second. Map is still... But anyways, I would like to port over the last bits I need from my base over there. In order for me to really begin cracking on and knuckling down with building the occult town that I have been planning for this streaming world, which is going to be an extremely long project for the world to make overall, and is one that's not going to be... if I go on this long, it's probably not going to be completed by stream 100, let's just say that. And I would also like to make some Tinker's tools for this episode as well, or for in this live stream as well. So I'll be taking a few bits and pieces from my area over here and utilising those for in today's content, shall we say. Do not have much iron at all, that is unfortunate. Right, so I'll bring that over and get that smelted up at a furnace. Actually, I might as well, let's see, do this here. Perfect amount. And what I can do is, where's the... I have that upstairs, don't I? That's okay. See here, so there is the thing that I need. Can't take lava out of that, so that's fair enough. What I'm going to have to do here then is just do that for the time being. Suppose I could have gone to the nether for that, but oh well. And then I'm also going to not go to the nether, as I probably should. This is going well. Take the lava from there, and then I will also make another bucket, taking my water and both of these guys as well. So that's those bits I have. Then I'm also going to need not much else actually. Let the iron smelt down actually. Why is that not working? Okay, that's because there's some of that in it. Fair enough. Also, I'm going to need some of that for what I have planned for today. Anything else in there that I need? Take that just in case. And then, let's see, I have that. Then I'm going to need a load of wood for the tinker's stuff that I need, but then I believe I have everything else that I need. I'm also going to take one of you. And also you for my purposes as well, which I will replenish at some point in the due course of this world. And I'm playing on peaceful, aren't I? Yep, there we go. So the first thing that I'm going to build today in regards to the town and what have you is a stone circle on a hill kind of adjacent to the kind of laid out first area that I have in my planning for this occult town that I'm making. As there has been a lot of planning gone into this and what have you, as you can probably imagine. But I think that is everything at the ready, so let's go back to my area up here and let's get beginning with the town. So as usual, there is a couple of things that I'm going to be talking about today within this live stream. The first is the popular and recent Uncanny supernatural media franchise, I guess you could call it. And I will also be talking about another top 5s video as well. First off, I want to take all of these down, actually, because I want to make room for more hopper furnaces, automatic furnaces. Just like that. And then dig out this bit as well, as this will be my kind of work area for making this occult town and what have you. This will be kind of where all of my materials are and what have you, outside of trees and what have you. Let's see, let's deposit this here and then collect you and you. Go. So I do have a couple more chests already. That is fantastic. Take that, take that, take that. How much wood do I have? Probably not a lot at the moment. Not much. It's Okay, I will use this Japanese maple in order to kind of get me along to where I need to be. So first of all, most basic one is the crafting table, which I thinking about the layout of what I'm going to need here is going to go here. Then this is the tinker stuff that I'm thinking of. I'm also going to need a pattern chest which has a recipe like this. Okay. And then probably put a general chest behind that for things like that, which I'm not really going to need, and other patternless things. Gets all connected up, that's good. It's one thing I like about the crafting table and what have the crafting station. One other thing I meant to mention is, as seen in my most recent short, which was the Occult train station one, I have found a way of implementing armor stands into this world here, which is with the better storage mod, as it is called. Currently I play in 1.7.10 modded Minecraft for in this world, which is absolutely ancient, I know, but it is kind of what I am used to playing with in terms of Minecraft and modded Minecraft, so it's what I've been sticking to with this kind of live stream stuff that I have been doing. Let's do a bit of something like that, and then I'll be able to easily, that's perfect. And then let's do, problem is it's going to take 4 blocks of iron to get a proper table, like a tinker's table, so I'm actually probably going to go back and use some ingots to make that isn't iron, just to save up on all of that, because I'm going to need those for hoppers and what have you, which I probably should actually just take from here, actually, come to think of it, which I will do quickly, because that will save me a lot of iron in the due course of this. But as I was saying there, I play C 1.7.10 modded Minecraft, just because that's what I'm used to playing and what have you, and that's all okay like that. Not too fussed about the cobblestone really. And I said I was going to get more blocks in a different variety. That's fine, that will be okay. That will be okay for the time being. Do that. Brilliant. I play 1.7.10 modded Minecraft for the time being, and what have you, as I have been doing for the past many years now, as that is what I'm used to playing in regards to Minecraft and this game generally. And I've experimented with generally updating this world into newer versions of modded Minecraft, but my game and world like completely break, so to speak, in regards to updates and what have you. A lot of the blocks get deleted and what have you. So for me, upgrading to, why did I just make furnaces when I have a whole bunch of them already? So for me, upgrading to a new incarnation of modded Minecraft isn't really an option at the moment because of all of the issues that can have with my worlds in particular, as I have found. There is probably some ways that I can figure out how to kind of work around this and get everything to work, but for me there's no real point in doing that at the moment, I would have said, or in more specifically, it would take a ton more planning and what have you to fully upgrade my mod pack to a newer version of Minecraft and play on a version of Minecraft that isn't 10 years old and able to get things to a much, shall we say, newer state and probably easier to accomplish with mods and what have you. But as I said, just in terms of planning and what have you, I haven't really, but in terms of planning and what have you, it isn't really much of an option to do so at the moment because of how I have made plans for this world and how much more planning it would take to accommodate for such huge changes and what have you in this world that I am kind of designed and got in mind for realizing within this live stream world. So as such, I've been kind of looking at mods and what have you that will kind of bring that's not what I wanted to do, bring all of this a bit closer to my dream and what have you, my dream kind of mod pack as it were and what have you, and I've gotten very close to achieving that and what have you, and I would say at the moment I pretty much do have absolutely everything that I would need for this world that I have in mind, and making armor stands and what have you was one of the last big ones for this world, I would have said, and I've been able to find a mod that finally that allows me to add armor stands into this iteration of Minecraft that I'm playing on. The only thing that I'm kind of missing and what have you from this mod pack and what have you, I would say, is animal heads and what have you, like droppable animal heads are the only kind of last thing that I would need for in this world, because I think it would be really cool to try and do a little homage to the iconic The Wicker Man movie within this world, particularly in this occult town, with, you know, like armor stands and animal heads and what have you. That would be fantastic, I would have said, to kind of have a nice tribute to that incredible piece of folk horror, and would really add quite a lot to this world and what have you. But at the moment I haven't been able to find a particular modded Minecraft or a particular mod that cooperates with my mod setup and what have you that I have here. Unfortunately at the moment, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is, I would have said. But as I said, I'm very close to kind of achieving or having everything I could possibly want in this mod pack and what have you. And I've definitely figured out lots of things that I want to do within this world in accordance to my kind of ideas and what have you, and what I would like to build in this world. See, I'm assuming that'll be okay. There you go. So then that's that one, and then I'm also going to need an excavator cleaver as well. I've noted down, that's fine. Like that. And then not that one, because I don't need that at the moment, though I suppose having that would be good. Then see here, that is that, it's fine. Gonna probably need a couple of these anyway, do 3 of those for now. And cobblestone is infinite here, so it's not really a matter if I'm wasting bits and pieces of cobble anyway, which is fantastic because I'm going to be needing a lot of it for in this particular build that I'm doing here. That's that. That's that. Then I suppose I can. Does that work? Do that and that. Brilliant. So then that one, then this one I hope, yep, then that one, and then that one. So that one, then that. Then I'm also going to want, that's the one I was thinking of, one there, no, that, and that. Then what's for the cleaver? That requires those, that's fine. So that one is a waste, but that's okay. Then for that, I'm going to want another one of these, as well as one of those. And then do that. Stone tough rod, brilliant. So that's all of that are kind of accomplished, almost. Because I also want a axe hatchet, a shovel, and a pickaxe as well. So let's deposit all those in there. Then go back over here. Let's do long sword. Let's see. It's effective on wood, dirt, and plants. So I might as well. That's what I was thinking of. So I might as well make one of those, an axe head and a shovel head. So that will negate both of those. Brilliant. So then do that. Axe head, shovel head, then. So one of you. So then in here, do that, that, brilliant. That, and then one of you. Brilliant. This is going a lot quicker than I thought it was. I'm kind of speed running this. Not that one, that one. So then the last one I'm going to need is a sword, which is going to comprise of that. Okay. That will be this one. Then it's It's also going to need a knife blade, sword blade, that's it. That, and do that. Go, brilliant. Then let's deposit all of that up here. Smelted away quite a bit, so that's going to be that. That's brilliant. Then I'm also going to want more charcoal, which I have in my bag here. I do not, it's in here. Do that and that. That and that, I guess. Yeah. So that and that. That, and then that. Brilliant. Deposit all of that back in there. Keep my pork chops on me. I already have the cleaver actually, so actually keep the cleaver actually, yeah. Oh, actually I'll make the sword as well since I'm actually kind of at it, but and use that actually, but the cleaver will come in useful at some point within this world. Probably whenever I eventually get around to getting more wither skeleton skulls and things like that for the world, which I will be needing at some point, probably for beacons. So then I forgot the pickaxe, didn't I? That's that. I've got that one. No, it's the pickaxe. Yes, I need the pickaxe as well. So take one more lot of you out of there. And then requires all that. That's absolutely fine. And then we do that one. There we are, like that, and then that, and then that. Brilliant. So then it's all that sorted. Deposit that up there, and then see here, last bit for me before I can get really into gear for this stream is to organise this all a bit more. Going to keep that on me because that's going to be useful for torches. Then that's my mattock, which is for certain what have you. Then keep those on me as well. Keep that on me as well, just in case. Shears I'm going to maybe need for sheep and what have you. Then I have all of those in there. That's fine. That's that. That's that, and then sleep once more. And it's not night time, even though it looks like it is. Then do I have the chisel in here? I do not. Go back in here. There it is. Let's do that. So then, let's see here, let's get rid of all of that. Deposit all of that in there, and then get all of this stone, fill of it as much as I can in here, like that, like that. It's brilliant because I'm going to be needing some of that today. And so that's that. Got everything, that's that. Brilliant. So in the recent times, in terms of paranormal entertainment and what have you, a pretty big and successful and popular like that. So in the recent times, in terms of paranormal entertainment and media, in the current kind of decade, is a popular media franchise called Uncanny. And it's a popular biographical kind of documentary radio series that has been released on Spotify. So podcast, not a radio series. I'm a bit antiquated, but basically the same thing, I guess you could say. It has had 60 episodes released since 2021, and it has also spun off into a television version as well. There were 3 episodes of this TV iteration released in, I believe, late 2023, kind of around the time of Halloween. And then there was an additional 4 released as the second series in 2025, and it is hosted by a presenter called Danny Robbins. With regards to me and all of the supernatural stuff that I thoroughly enjoy watching and reading and kind of discussing about here, a lot of it I have heard about thanks to other people, and that is because of a online group that I am in, which I will not name, just for my own personal safety. I probably don't need to say that, but you know what I mean. And a lot of the stories that I read and authors that I read, I hear about, and a lot of the stories I read and authors I read and TV shows that I watch, I have heard about thanks to this group and the people that discuss these kind of things. I hear about these kind of things thanks to them, and I in turn kind of heard about Uncanny through this particular Facebook group and what have you, and having Spotify, it automatically caught my interest and kind of interests, I guess you could say. And I have currently listened to, I believe, the first 3 series of the radio, or of the Spotify podcast kind of radio series, whatever you want to call it. And I've also seen the first 3 episodes of the TV amongst a clip from, I believe, the second series on YouTube recently, which is not one that I'll be discussing here. But it's been something that I have thoroughly enjoyed, what I have seen of it and what I have enjoyed of it. I would have said, I think it's really, really good, and if you're at all interested in this stuff, it is something I do recommend checking out. If you do have an interest in the paranormal and what have you, and it is a very and it presents a lot of amazing stories and what have you throughout this kind of lens and approach to discussing the paranormal and what have you. It's brilliant stuff, and I really do need to dive deeper in regards to the radio stuff and check out more of / the rest of the material as presented in the television iteration. As mentioned, I have seen a clip of the second series on YouTube, which was about kind of a shadow man or something like that. It was called, that particular clip. But yeah, that's my kind of background on the kind of general Uncanny franchise, I guess you could say. And I take it because of his association with BBC Sounds, which I believe is how the kind of production company, or at least a affiliated company with his series that he makes, Danny Robbins has appeared on clips related to Uncanny, or as a part of Uncanny on the BBC Sounds YouTube channel, and has various clips and what have you on there with regards to similar stuff. Let's see, is that the right key? Maybe not pressing it. There we go. And this was something I wasn't really aware of and what have you before, until the other day when I found these kind of clips online and decided that they would be good to discuss for in this kind of streaming stuff that I do here. Let's do that. And then I think the trees are going to have to go along here for the time being, but that is fine. Let's plant those there. And the first of these kinds of clips and what have you that I am referring to, that I've found on YouTube and what have you, thanks to BBC Sounds, is called Uncanny Meets Ghosts, Larry Rickard's Real Life Paranormal Experience. Running from 2019 to 2023 was a popular British supernatural sitcom simply called Ghosts, which is something I haven't checked out because generally it's something that isn't going to be for me, as I don't really do much kind of comedy stuff at the moment. I mainly get my comedy fix from YouTube and the Goons and what have you, primarily, who are absolute legends. I've even had a quote from Soup as my ringtone for the past 4 years, which is absolutely beautiful, but that's neither here nor there. But basically, this was a popular British sitcom which ran for the 4 years or 5 years that it did, and garnered 5 series overall whenever it ended in 2023. And I'm assuming that as a kind of YouTube channel exclusive, I guess you would call it, and what have you, BBC Sounds did a kind of collaboration and a way of bringing together the worlds of Uncanny and Ghosts into kind of one video here. with Uncanny Meets Ghosts, as it's simply called. Which is, I'm assuming, as this is the only one I've seen, as it would appear, this is Danny Robbins, the presenter of Uncanny, meeting and talking to the cast and crew of this particular television series, with him talking to the actor Larry Rickard here, or no, Richard Rickard here. Oh no, it is Larry Rickard. With this particular clip focusing on the actor Larry Rickard here, and Danny talking to him about his supposed paranormal experience that he had, Larry this is, whenever he was a kid. So basically, Larry was a kid, 12 years old. He was in bed dozing when he so happened to notice that his dressing gown, which was on a door, on his bedroom door, I'm assuming facing his bed and what have you, he noticed that it looked like it was being poked or moved by somebody. As it's described in the video, it's as if there was a hole in the door and somebody pokes it and what have you. As if there was a hole in the door and it was moving like that. And then the story as described is that it then proceeded to form into the shape of a person, his dressing gown. And it's described as not that it was like the Invisible Man putting on his dressing gown, with images of the Universal film coming to mind from the 30s, but more that it was, the object was slowly being inflated as it is put in the video, but with it gradually forming into the shape of a person. See here, that keep this going, and the kind of framework and what have you of the person, whenever it forms into a full person, it is said that the object, shall we call it, the phantom apparition, started to point at Larry, and Larry, in a cliche way, reportedly was scared and pulled the covers over his head, and whenever he discarded the covers, so to speak, the manifestation had disappeared. And in the video itself, he said the story to several friends of his at the time, which kind of met with mixed response and what have you from various people. Some kind of believing in him and some people not believing in him, for kind of believable and good reasons, I would have said. I mean, he was just a kid. It could have been his kind of imagination playing tricks on him and what have you. And he kind of told the story so that the manifestation happened and then the dressing gown was back on its hook, and that was for him the easiest explanation and easiest way to tell the version of the story to the people around him that he was telling this story to. But the part in regards to what he left out and what have you was the fact that the dressing gown itself was on the floor after the incident, with him still residing in his bed. And that's the part that to this day he still cannot explain, and is the hardest bit to kind of brush aside for him and the story. And overall it's a really interesting and unusual story overall, I would have said, and for kind of obvious reasons and what have you. If you're familiar with this guy's stories, and as I've talked about him on the channel in the past, it's very much reminds me of M.R. James's "Oh Whistle, I Will Come to You, My Lad," with the manifesting bed sheets and what have you, that kind of undulate and form into a figure and menace the ever so scared figure that is Parkins in that particular story. Let's do that and then give this one a whack. Go. Which is an absolutely fantastic story by my favourite author of all time, I would have said now. But yeah, overall very interesting and highly unusual story overall, I would have said. And again, there's a lot of things about it that people can kind of point to and what have you, and kind of say this or that about it, such as that it was a kid that had seen all of this and what have you, and it could have just been their imaginations working away and being just, as I said, the imaginations of a kid. But it's still a very interesting and unusual story to listen to and kind of discuss, I would have said. It's still very much an interesting and highly unusual story. And as I said, it reminds me of my favourite author of all time, M.R. James, so that's always a bonus. It's good. Plant more of these now, because I'm going to need a lot of spruce for in this city, or town rather. So the lumber axe here is going to be very useful for that. I'm going to need to go and get some more food as well soon also, which is fine. That. But how low are you? So actually let's do that just to get food accelerated a bit, and do that and that. So the next bit I think that I want to do here is actually start building the stone circle, and in turn laying out bits and pieces of the world where pathways are going to go and what have you. And I think I will use wood for the time being. Let's get some of this all scooped up. You can obviously already grown stuff, it's fine. Okay, that's right. Got diamond on that automatically, nice. See, that's that. that. Let's just do this quickly and then I'll progress on to the next bit. Let's see here. Let's plant this up. Is anything going on in chat right now? Probably not, because I'm a lonely boy. Nope, nothing going on in chat. That's absolutely fine. So that's okay. Do that. That's that. Okay. So the next bit that I'm going to kind of make for in this world here and what have you is a very simple kind of stone circle pattern I have come up with, which is very easy to make, and I'm going to be building it up here with the kind of, yeah, this like a path coming down to this kind of lake here, which I'm going to kind of develop and what have you into its own thing eventually in the world. Let's do that. Have I got a water bucket on me? That would be useful for... I do not know. It's fine. See. And I need to get more food as well, but I'll focus on the stone circle for the time being. Let's go round up here. It's fine, and then, and heck, I might need some rubber, who knows, but probably not, since I'm still a virgin and probably will be for the rest of my life. But anyways, that's all okay. And what was I going to get? Yes, the bucket. There we go. So the second clip of the uncanny stuff that I'm going to talk about here and what have you was not as a part of the collaboration that I have mentioned and what have you, the one with ghosts and what have you. This is just, I don't think it's a part of the second series of Uncanny, and neither do I remember it, the TV series that is, and neither do I remember it from the first. So I'm going to assume this was some kind of promotional thing, a promotional kind of interview thing that Danny did for his series. I would have said, see, it's fine, it's okay, that's that, and that's that. I'm gonna need that, it's fine. So this second clip here is simply called Jason Manford's Ghost Story Will Give You Shivers. As I said, I'm not really 100% sure what this is a part of. I'm just going to assume it's some kind of promotional thing that was done in order for some kind of contractual thing for Danny's podcast show. Let's see here, those as well, there we go. So it was basically just talking to Jason Manford, a comedian, about the paranormal and what have you. And the kind of opening question by Danny towards Jason was if he believed in ghosts or not, and Jason says no. But what goes on to be discussed is in of itself a ghost story, and that's what the following about 4-minute video is on. And it is a very creepy and interesting story overall, I would have said, and pretty frightening overall, I would have said. And is definitely one that is very creepy overall. So the opening question as posed by Danny towards the opening question and what have you as posed to Jason as by Danny was if he believes in ghosts or not. And Jason says no, he doesn't believe in ghosts. But what is transpiring here is in of itself a ghost story. So it's set in the 2012 London Olympics, and Jason here is cast in a stage show of Sweeney Todd in, I'm assuming, the West End, and he is away from his wife and his kids. His kids being 2 twin daughters, and I'm assuming it's not fully detailed, but given the kind of time period of the video given the time period of the story and what have you, I'm assuming that he called them through some video service and what have you. I'm going to assume Skype. So let's need to put a chest down here as well, which I do not have. Let's see. Let's just go deposit some of this stuff. He called the family and he called his family at night often, I'm assuming with Skype video calls, given the time period of when the story was and the kind of details that are given within the progression of the story. See, let's do that, and then that also. Then I would also that, and that. That's okay. So he called them at about 8:30 at night, just before the daughters go to bed, as that's a decent time for him to call and say night night and wrap up the days and what have you. And he is within a stage room, and he's within a dressing room beside this stage door. And one night on one of these presumably Skype video calls, his daughter starts looking and making weird noises. When asked, she says there is somebody right behind him, even though there isn't. And 3 or 4 nights later, they say, "Daddy, the man's back, he's behind you." What does he look like is the question as posed by the father. Tall, dark hair, mustache, a soldier, crying is the details that are given in this moment. Is that right? It's going to be a bit small, that one, so maybe extend it outwards. And then mentioning all of this unusual stuff in a kind of joking way to a theatre personnel, not kind of believing it and what have you. The theatre personnel say that what his girl saw was William, a famous ghost of the place, and doing research, see here, do that, and then doing research of the place, Jason discovers that William was an actor that was murdered at a stage door. Let's see, is that how I want it? Yes, that's all fine. He discovers that William was a... No, that's going to have to be in like that. That. And that he was murdered at a stage door. William Terrace was their name, and he was set to play the main character, a captain in the American Union Army. Let's see here, that bit I want to be here. Go. That's okay. It's alright. Okay. So this stone circle kind of pattern and what have you I'm building here is something I haven't shown on the channel yet, but it is something I will eventually incorporate at some point into a video on the channel that I have planned. So with the Runic Dungeons mod and what have you, I'm kind of able to kind of cheat the system a little bit and create a stone circle and what have you, utilizing mechanics of that and what have you within my game here. Let's see here, and then I also am going to want some of these here, like so. Then do that, and then that, and that's kind of... Okay, maybe have a moss here, that, and two like that. So with the Runic Dungeons mod and what have you, whenever I eventually get enough materials and stuff from my mob farm, I will be able to make a magical chalk, as it is called in the mod, and I'm able to basically light this configuration in the middle and then light it up. So that it creates a kind of pentagram pattern on the stone down there. See here, like one of these on the stones basically, which creates a really cool pattern and is a neat way of making a kind of stone circle type thing for in the world here. So then that is going to be a path which will kind of lead from this down to here, I would have said. So kind of leading down to the area down here, and then kind of around this I'm going to have another type of pathway around this and what have you. It's going to be right next to the train line, but that's okay. And I will probably do some custom tree work in this or what have you at some point within the progression of these live streams. So then if I get up the world plans here that I have, need these, so that's okay, it's fine. So I think at this point what I'm going to have to do is clear out all of this grass and then just do a massive amount of terraforming and what have you, is I think what's best next. Let's take that and chop all of these bits down here as well. See, and keep the wood supply going, so to speak. Just deposit all of that in there. That. Or keep the charcoal supply coming, so to speak. Let's do this quickly. Do that, and then a bit of this. It's amazing how much wood I can get and how quickly I can get all this wood and what have you with a configuration like this, and with a lumber axe it's absolutely insane how much wood I can get and how much I can get so quickly. Let's do that. It's really, really good for kind of speed in this world and what have you, which is always good for big projects which are going to need a lot of wood and what have you for in this world, or in this particular section of the world. Let's do that. That's that. And there we go. Then I think what I'm going to do, apart from like 1 or 2 stacks or 3 stacks of the planks that I've garnered here. Okay, that was unusual. What are the chances of that? That was weird. See, wow, I've got a lot here. I'm just going to deposit all of the spruce in here and then keep some of the oak here, just for the next part of this piece of progress that I'm doing here today. So let me just replant all of this, and then I will progress on to the next part of stories and what have you for this live stream, whilst I terraform and do a lot more work and what have you in regards to getting everything down and together for this particular world, or this particular section of the world. Let's do that, not that. That's going to generate loads more wood, which is always good, but I'm mainly going to need spruce for in this section of the world. See here, that, because spruce has kind of a very dark kind of colour scheme to it and what have you, which I quite like, and it's pretty much perfect for a mystical town like I'm trying to make here, or will be making here. So I think spruce is going to be the way to go for wood and for a wood colour and what have you for within this kind of project. Do that, and a bit of this. Go. And that and that. That and that and that. There we go. And now I'm pretty much ready to progress on to the next stage of terraforming and kind of shaping this world as to how I want it to be, so to speak. And I would also quickly do some of that just in case I run into kind of things that I need to put into chests quickly. See here. That's perfect. I can already kind of see everything kind of coming together, even though that doesn't appear to be 100% in line with each other up there, so I'm probably going to have to change that, unfortunately. But that's alright. Just going to chop this down and then I will get going with the next few stories after a small quick break here, because it is really hot in my room at the moment. See here, let's do that, and then deposit that, and do that. And let's go up here and go up to my AFK spot for a brief few minutes here whilst I put some ice in my drink and do a couple of other bits and pieces. Oh wow, that's a tall tree. Nice, nice, nice. Right, back in a couple minutes. Alright, I'm back after recalibrating my systems a little bit here. So now I can really kind of get going with the second section of this stream, and then kind of get going and what have you with the second lot of stories that I have here. Let's go up here. So it's going to be more sense to dig this way, yeah. Do 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 do. So the second video here, or rather the third, but the kind of main and longest video that I'm going to be kind of talking about here and what have you, is the top 5s video. 5 scary paranormal encounters experienced by our viewers, which was uploaded one day before my birthday in 2021. So nice birthday present for myself, I guess. So they're all stories that are sent in by their viewers, and they all claim that they are apparently authentic stories, which adds an interesting kind of edge, I guess you could say, to this particular story, or this kind of collection of stories overall. So the first of the 5 stories here is simply called Scratched by an Unseen Force. Let's do that, and then that's okay. So let's shuffle up a bit here and do that. Okay. So in the first section and first kind of story of this video is simply called Scratched by an Unseen Force. A person by the name of Janka, I believe in the Czech Republic, a person by the name of Janka isn't doing well with a couple different things, namely with school, and is under a bout of depression. One day, if I remember the details right from the video, she isn't feeling well and is staying at their mum's house, which kind of gets brushed aside a bit in this story, but whatever, I guess. As that's kind of not the most important part to this story overall. But basically they're staying with their mother as they are not feeling well. And they are, as she is taking a shower and washing her hair, the light in the bathroom flickers, which occurs after she feels a pain on her arm and is alerted by this sensation, which is when these supposed paranormal, or rather unexplainable events begin to happen around her in the shower. And she feels scared and a sense of dread. She then runs to her bedroom. I'm assuming not. She then runs to her bedroom, where the light there also begins to flicker. And then things return to normal after she pleads to be left alone. And then I'm assuming either because this is what was seen after checking her arm for the what the pain was and what have you in the shower, she notices an odd scratch mark on her arm, and she is able to do a drawing of the scratch, and she supplies this drawing to Tops 5s here for their video, and to give a visualizer as to what this particular scratch looks like for any viewers watching this segment here in my live stream. It looks a bit like this crook here from the Ex Nihilo mod in this mod pack that I am playing with. So a very unusual scratch mark overall, as you can imagine. And then she tells friends about this kind of highly unusual event and what have you, where then she is encouraged to salt the corners effectively by placing salt down and what have you in the corners of her rooms and what have you. And after she does this, nothing else happens afterwards. And overall, I find this to be a very interesting and unusual story, which I would likely say is, if it's true, which apparently it is according to the video here and the supposed credibility of this channel's viewers, I would have said that this is a story of some kind of attack by a demon, as in paranormal cases where there is a demon present within the proceedings of the haunting and the supernatural events that besiege the place affected. If it is of a demonic entity type of haunting and what have you, scratches upon a person's skin mysteriously appearing is a common occurrence or common thing to be heard from in regards to such events and what have you. However, so that's what makes me think that the scratches in question, the scratch in question here, and that's what, so with Janka being scratched in the way that she was and what have you, it would make me think that this is of some kind of demonic attack and what have you, and this is kind of further credited and what have you further on in the story, where she tells people and she is encouraged to sprinkle salt in the corners of her rooms and what have you, which is a way of warding off demonic spirits or evil spirits. At the very least, I'm pretty sure demonic spirits, I'm pretty sure. But I'm pretty sure anyway that's a way of warding off demonic spirits and what have you. So it was something. So with all of this context and what have you, I'm going to assume that whatever attacked Janka here was of a demonic nature. However, what I find to be unusual about this story, given the contextualization of it being an attack of... However, what I find now unusual about this story and what have you, given the kind of context I have now given it, of it being of some kind of demonic nature and what have you, is the whole scratch thing. Overall, I would have said, because as I said, in cases of demonic possession and a haunting wherein the entity that haunts the area is of a demonic nature, it is, and if a scratch like that in such a case was to occur, the scratches themselves would normally manifest as free lines on a person's skin and what have you, which is meant to resemble a mocking of the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit. And that's how the scratches in such cases like this, if it were a demonic related haunting, occurs. So in that context, and thinking about this in terms of it being a story likely connected to some form of a demonic attack and what have you, is unusual given the context that we can give it, namely in regards to the appearance of the scratch that appeared on Janka. So overall, a highly unusual story overall, I would have said, in regards to what I feel is likely another case of... Overall, I feel like this is a likely another case of some kind of demonic attack, as I have mentioned. But if it is such a occurrence and what have you, it is therefore overall an extremely unusual one, given the nature of the scratch that appears on this individual. So if it is a demonic attack and what have you, which I think it is overall a highly unusual one, because I've not really heard of any demonic haunting stories wherein a person gets scratched in such a particular way as this. So maybe out there are other demonic entities and what have you that scratch people in different ways that I do not know about. But still, overall, very interesting and, as I said, highly unusual story for a kind of demonic possession overall, or demonic attack rather. But yeah, that was that. Very interesting and creepy way to start off this particular video by Top 5s here. just getting myself more wood for this particular expedition here, as I will probably need it. But the next story as present within the top 5's video here is an extremely unusual one and a very unique ghost story overall, I would have said, and as put as by top 5's in terms of their sectional indexing of their video, this one is simply called The Eerie Face in the Limpet. Do you see? So this second story, The Eerie Face in the Limpet, was sent in by a viewer of the name Eloy. His mum was into Portuguese folk and pop music, and they collected vinyl records of these genres amongst other music genres, as she was really into her music, from my grappling of this story and the information as present within it. However, one day she ended up moving house and bestowed Eloy with the vinyl collection. They were left aside for quite a while, but they were in Eloy's path one day whenever they were organising things, I believe, or had to go through some kind of removal or kind of redecorative process. So they ultimately went through his mother's record collection after having it for some time and made some interesting and valuable discoveries within it. However, the titular and the particular record that is in correlation to this story here, I've actually just remembered something over here that I need to do. The particular vinyl that correlates to this story here was a vinyl with a strange cover, and the title of it was O Mysterio de Lapa, and it had some kind of seashell with a face on the cover art of the record. Just do one more thing here quickly. Just be very quick. See. Nope, that's already messed it up. Yes, that's fine. Okay. There we are. And that has to be of a hopper, doesn't it? Fiddlesticks, right. Give me a moment here. This is completely messed up my flow. This is fantastic. I think I'll just restart this story actually, so it's got a consistent kind of flow to it, just in case I tape this for future purposes and what have you. see here. Gonna need to make another hopper in turn because of this. See here. Do see. This is going in now. It is brilliant. That's all up to state. Up to date and what have you. Let's do that and that. So that's 3, 9, brilliant. And let's get that going. That's going to keep going. Excellent. Right. Back on track here. So the second story as present in this particular Tops 5s video, so the second story as present in this Top 5s video is simply called The Eerie Face in the Limpet, and it is a remarkably strange and highly unusual story, and it's quite unlike any other ghost story that I have heard from my memory. So, viewer by the name of Eloy sent in this story to Top 5s. His mum was into Portuguese folk and pop music and collected vinyl records. Let's turn this down a bit actually. And however, one day she ended up giving Eloy the collection upon one of the two moving house. And the collection Eloy, I guess you could say, was bestowed upon them, and they accepted the collection from their mother. However, they didn't immediately go through the collection and began looking at what was within the collection overall. So it was kind of set aside and kind of left for quite a while. However, upon, I think, furniture redecoration or furniture moving or something like that, or kind of clearance or something like that, the collection of records was in Eloy's path, and this was when he ended up going through the collection. He made some interesting discoveries within, such as vinyl records from popular bands and what have you. But the most unusual and eye-catching but the one record that Eloy saw within this collection here, and the one that this particular section here in Top 5's video is about, is one called O Mysterio de Lapa, which had a very unusual and eye-catching cover art, which plays into the story that is the paranormal story here. So the cover art and what have you was quite simplistic. It's white with text and what have you in Portuguese on top of it, saying the band and the song name and what have you, O Mysterio de Lapa. But on the cover art of it, and the main piece of artwork to it, with the text notwithstanding, is a seashell that appears to have a person's face on it. And this is where the story about the seashell kind of, and this is where the kind of ghost story part of it kind of comes into place. It is said that the shell was found on an island called Salmagal, probably said that wrong, in the late 1970s, with its discovery being well publicised. With people being people, a lot of people thought that the face on the limpet and what have you, or the mollusk, was of Jesus Christ himself. However, there is another story of the origins to this face, and one that is told and what have you about this limpet shell. And that is that a societally pressured, closeted homosexual, let's just say, didn't want to be around anymore, and after, I'm assuming, his disappearance, all that was found was his neatly folded clothes on the cliff and this shell of the limpet or the mollusk. And it is assumed, at least in this interpretation and iteration of the story, and it's assumed that within this interpretation / iteration of the story, that the face present here on the limpet is of this person that, let's just say, didn't want to be around anymore. And the seashell itself was, as I said, discovered in the late 1970s and ended up in a museum. The singer behind the O Mysterio de Lapa song that Eloy found the vinyl of, and what in turn became this story as presented by Top 5's, the singer behind the song and what have you saw the shell on an exhibition and was so inspired by the shell that they wrote a song about it, in turn creating the song that this story has kind of spun out of. And see, was there anything else here? But yes, overall a very interesting and highly unusual ghost story, I would have said, and it's not quite like anything else I kind of have heard in terms of a ghost story. It is an extremely unique and highly unusual one at that, I would have said. As pointed out in the comments and what have you, this stuff can very easily be explained, this particular story, as just a case of pareidolia, where some shapes and patterns appear on a particular thing, in this case a seashell, that just so happen to coincidentally naturally form and look like something that there is looks like something that may be paranormal or have paranormal leanings, that just is an actual coincidence within nature and is nothing to do with the paranormal overall. And that is an explanation put forward by people in the comment section of this video, and overall it is most likely a case of pareidolia, and people kind of getting hysterical about it, a bit of hysteria being washed up about it and what have you. It's most likely the reasoning and kind of rationale behind this story and what have you. But overall still, it is a highly interesting and definitely unusual ghost story, and is quite unlike anything else I have heard in terms of a ghost story. Let's see here. The third story as present in this video here by Top 5s is simply called Lingering Roadside Ghost, and is a very short and to the point story overall. A man by the name of Anthony, with this story set in Fairway, Virginia, USA. Anthony drives past an abandoned house every day, and one day he decided to take some photographs of the house in question. He didn't notice anything at first, if I remember the details from this particular story and what have you, and its presentation within Top 5's video here, but upon looking at the photographs and what have you that he took, he ended up noticing a wispy manifestation by the house slightly on the road in front of the house in question. And upon contacting a Facebook page about abandoned places in Virginia, he was able to get a reply that stated that this particular commenter's grandfather lived at the house and works at a shop that used to be next to it. So, could it be that this area is still haunted by this family? Overall, a very kind of almost typical ghost story and what have you, with an interesting kind of photograph behind it. So nothing exactly that's gonna warrant a huge essay out of me, but it's definitely a very interesting and unusual but it's still definitely a very interesting story overall, I would have said. This was kind of almost a quiet interlude in a way for this particular video by Top 5s here, as the story before, the mysterious face in the limpet, and the story about the song within the story itself was very interesting and highly unusual, with it being a good kind of high point for the video, with this kind of abandoned house story being kind of a quiet interlude, as I have called it. But things do definitely ramp up again with the next story, I would have said, which is sectionally titled Living with the Spirit of Mrs. Hammett. So this involved a pre-World War II house being moved in by a family, and they found that it had a particular and peculiar and quite unnerving atmosphere. Trying to sleep one night, which wasn't very successful because of how hot of a night it was, if I remember the details correctly. The couple were sleeping in bed and rose from their dozing to a very loud crashing noise, which, as you would expect, struck some terror into them. But things weren't helped much by the owner's cat, which was sleeping on the wife, Julie, getting terrorised as well and quite rightly frightened, which in turn led to it scratching Julie's eye, with it in turn bleeding pretty badly, as per this story. Let's see here. So they checked, but they could find no cause for the noise that made the loud crashing. Julie got the necessary first aid and they ended up going back to bed. Let's see here, that's that. So this all elapsed and what have you, and 1 week later Julie was cooking, and upon a white cabinet they thought they saw a moving shadow which was reflected upon the cabinet, and they saw that it was something moving behind her. They turned around expecting to find their husband behind them, but found nobody. And this became a regular occurrence with Julie's spouse or husband thinking that she was turning hysterical, basically. Let's do that as well. And this particular event of something manifesting behind Julie became a regular occurrence. And this is just one example of a paranormal event as experienced by the people in this house, and there is much more. Since after Julie starting to be, I guess you could say, stalked and repeatedly sneaks up upon by these manifestations and what have you, things began being unplugged. There was more shadow figures seen, and there was a weird smell of perfume that would quote unquote manifest itself and permeate rooms and what have you, and which they believed to be of the previous owner that used to own the house, Mrs. Hammett. Is that the name? Yes, Mrs. Hammett. And let's see, where was I? Then, as well as this and what have you, their children also began to be freaked out by various supernatural events within the house as well, such as, again, if I remember the details right, as prevalent within the video, One of them was asleep or playing in their bedroom, and a doll that they had started to move on its own, terrorizing them, or quite rightly instilling some fear into the child. Stu. And then it all kind of culminated one night with one of the scariest, at least for Julie, events by the people residing in the house. So they were all watching TV one night, and then the kitchen light, which I'm assuming must have been very close by to them and what have you, began flickering, but began turning on by itself, only for it to be turned back on again phantasmagorically, shall we say, even though it had been turned off by, I'm assuming, Julie, automatically, even with it being turned off by Julie. And this kept happening and what have you, and during this particular evening and instance of events, Julie became hysterical, wanting to pack everything up and just leave the house and what have you, with the kids and everything, being probably absolutely terrified and sick and tired of all of the sinister events that were going on in their house and what have you. And the electrician and what have you that was responsible for the previous rewiring of the house, which only occurred a few years ago prior to this unusual kitchen-based event, was contacted, the electrician that did that wiring, and they said that it was not physically possible for the kitchen light to be doing such stuff. Let's see. And then the section overall on this particular story, The Haunting of Mrs. Hammett, I think it was called, or something like that, ends with Julie witnessing the manifestation of an apparition of the former occupant, or Mrs. Hammett. However, the unusual part of this was that the manifestation of the apparition in question was only the top half of a figure, but it was of an elderly woman, and I'm assuming either because of that or because of their knowledge of the previous occupant and who they were able to make the distinction that it was indeed Mrs. Hammett manifesting and making her presence known to Julie in this particular instance. Overall, a very interesting and packed story of various frightening things and what have you, for within a ghost story, I would have said. A lot of kind of hallmarks and trademarks of a typical ghost story, I would have said, and is one that is overall very creepy and highly unusual, I would have said. But no, a pretty fantastic story overall, I would have said. And as I said, it has a lot of hallmarks of ghost stories and what have you within it, whether it be apparitions, lights turning on and off, things moving, and animals freaking out about various things they can perceive and what have you that human beings cannot. And I forgot to mention in the main narrative of the story there, after the cat scratched Julie's eye that night, it arched up and leapt off the bed and started hissing and spitting at something in the corner of the bedroom that the humans could not see, which adds another kind of layer, and I guess you could say element, to this story and the kind of traits of a ghost story that there are prevalent within this particular video and what have you, I would have said. As there's a widely kind of thought of speculation that animals can see things that we cannot, and see and perceive things that we cannot. But no, absolutely fantastic and very interesting and creepy story overall, I would have said. Let's see here. It's probably not the right time to do that bit. Just continue with that. So then we move on to the final section of this particular top 5s video, and that is the Dudley Castle Drummer Boy ghost, as the video puts in its sectional title. So two people by the names of Ryan and Natalie were or are adamant believers in the paranormal, and they were particularly excited to visit this location in question, Dudley Castle. And there are stories of various haunts and what have you at this locale, and namely with the most famous one being the Grey Lady that is said to haunt the location and what have you. And in kind of typical tourist fashion and what have you, Ryan and Natalie begin snapping photos and what have you, generally of things for their kind of I guess you could say, for lack of better terms, cliche tourist behaviours, but also in attempts to try and capture something supernatural on camera. And they took several photographs and what have you of the place, and they did end up capturing something. They didn't capture the ghost of the Grey Lady, the most famous ghost of the place, but they did capture the ghost of the drummer boy that is also said to haunt this particular location and what have you, Dudley Castle. So the photo itself is of a black small shape about the size of that of a young boy and appearance of a young boy in the courtyard, and the video later showcases in shall we say a response to possible criticisms and what have you of it being a cutout and what have you, a photograph of the same area and what have you, where the photograph was taken only for there to be no cutouts present at that particular location and what have you. And this was all done because the photo and what have you apparently caught wind of news outlets and what have you that picked up on the story. So it was shown that it was most likely not a forgery or a fake and what have you, in terms of it being a cutout and what have you, as displayed within the video here. But an interesting kind of detail and what have you that is further presented within the narrative telling of this story within Top's video is that Natalie, I believe it is said to have ancestral links to the people that resided in Dudley Castle at the time it was being used, and is in turn brought up from a speculative angle that, and is the question, and a question is brought up and what have you, in a very speculative angle and what have you, which is that could it be that this manifestation occurred because of Natalie's ancestral links to the people that resided in the castle. Overall, this was a very interesting video by Top 5's overall, I would have said, and is definitely one that I was thoroughly kind of entertained by and what have you, I would have said, and is a really good video by them overall, with some particularly interesting and creepy stories, I would have said, with the highlights to me being the eerie face in the limpet and living with the spirit of Mrs. Hammett, all of which were fantastic, both of which were fantastic stories and what have you, and overall this video was a great kind of detailing and what have you of stories overall, I would have said. And so that overall pretty much concludes this live stream for today, I would have said. Managed to get quite a bit done overall with regards to the greater planning of my occult town here, I would have said. Well, some planning of it done, but mostly kind of clearance of land and preparation for the houses and all of the builds that I will be sowing this land with, so to speak. Really happy with the progress that I have gotten done today. I feel like I've done a lot, well, I have done a lot, and overall it's been a really good stream, I would have said, maybe apart from some kind of blunderal moments with my commentaries and what have you, but in terms of progress within this world and what have you, I feel that it's been a really good stream overall in terms of my progress. So like, favorite, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream overall, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Like, favorite, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you in the next one. One final thing to mention and what have you at the end of this live stream that I should have mentioned at the start, now that I just remember it, is that there will be a shake-up of content in terms of when things will go out and what will be going out next week, most likely, because of commitments that I have next week that need to be seen to. But that's all I've got to say for this live stream. So like, favorite, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one.